What's going on YouTube? Welcome to day 60, and this update's more like a rant on corals. So I've had a lot of this rock for years, and a lot of the original corals that I bought are still on the rockwork. In fact, most of them have become the dominant species on each individual rock island, which typically happens if you have rock or tanks up for a long time. I think as a beginning hobbyist, we make our coral purchases based on availability, and then we kind of decide, does it look nice and does it fit within my budget? Maybe the care requirements are another deciding factor. But fast forward a year later, and you realize that your entire tank's covered with green star polyps or mushrooms or zoanthids, and you're wondering, do I have room for an additional coral? You're going to have overgrowth, and sometimes you could purchase a more aggressive coral that will overtake something you have existing in your tank. But 9 times out of 10, we tend to buy the early on aggressive coral, like a mushroom, like a green star polyp, and they overtake everything and really won't allow you to put anything that will outgrow it. So when I added new corals to this tank, I really wanted to go a little bit more challenging, mainly because the growth I got within the last year was pretty much phenomenal, but it was a mixed reef, more LPS and softy than anything. The only SPS I had were Monteporas, and my hot pink is doing a great job now encrusting and tabling, and I'll show you the little bit snip later of my sunset Monty, which is doing phenomenal. So I really went into the Acropora. So Acropora are really challenging. They're not easy corals to keep. I actually purchased probably 22 frags in the last 3 weeks, and I've lost 5 or 6 already. I'm not going to say that's going to be the same for everyone, but that was what I've gotten so far. Out of the Acropora frags, I was very specific too. I wanted a wide range of colors and types and varieties, so I got them from a wide group of vendors. The 2 on the left are from Cultivated Reef, and the 4 or 5 on the right are all from the Jason Fox live sale. They're real specific. Paletta Pink Tip, Jason Fox, Fox Flame, Farmer Stag, Strawberry Shortcake Acropora, and then a friend of mine actually sent me a bunch of corals, mostly Meliopora, but a wide range of colors. A couple stags, the one in the very front's a really nice blue, even though the video isn't showing that right now. The variety of corals, species, and colors are going to be key to really displaying a nice assortment of SPS in my new tank. Now, I will say one thing I did notice is these corals tend to suffer a lot when shipping. Some of them arrived nowhere near the color they are now, and that's to be kind of expected because they're more challenging to keep. But after about 2 weeks, I've had these in here for about 3 weeks, the color starts to come back. Bear with it. STN and RTN are the death of these corals, but I haven't seen too much of that, and that's what I'm hoping for. Now, I decided it was time to go into these, mainly because the bounce back from my Monty. So I bought this Monopora. The frag was the size of a dime when I originally bought it, and it grew out, and then it browned out, and then it kind of died, and then it made a miraculous comeback. The color has never been better in this, and it's growing so fast the bottom's starting to table out, which I never thought would happen. So it's definitely a good sign. Monties are kind of the easy SPS, but if they're growing rapidly, that's a great sign you can get into the rest of the species. Now, it's still a mixed reef. I have mushrooms, as you can see here. These legendary coral mushrooms I've got 2 years ago are still doing well. They each split once, and I still have acans, I still have zoanthids, but the addition of the SPS corals and the addition of the flow is really going to be key for the new tank. The nice thing is, all these different corals that I had existing are easily acclimating to the increased flow in the display tank, and none of them were negatively affected by me removing the sand. In fact, the only difference is really I switched my dosing to Aquaphor's component 1, 2, 3, and that would be the big chemistry change in the tank. Lighting's stayed the same since last year. Now in the refugium, when I switched over, I pulled the sand bed out because it was an old sand bed. I'm sure I had unwanted food inside the sand bed, deep inside. So I pulled everything out, cleaned it, left it bare bottom for 2 weeks. I grew Sano like crazy, so I recently scrubbed down the sand bed and added a ton of macroalgae. Now I've noticed that my macro doesn't do as well with a nanobox beam at like 70%. So as an acclimation for just macroalgae, I lowered it down to 25 and then have ramped it all the way up to about 32. Probably going to keep it about 32 because it seems to be doing well. But just for advice, even macroalgae kind of needs an acclimation period. When one of the best decisions I've made, and I've really stuck with since I've started reefing, is having that open stand design. So it doesn't help when it comes to heating and noise. If you pick the right equipment, it won't be loud. But getting to visually look and see what's going on in your sump every time you pass it is just another way to monitor your tank and keep everything consistent and stable. Every time I walk by, I do a visual check and I look and I can see, are my filter socks too dirty, or is my skimmer cup overflowing, or is my return pump starting to run dry, or are my dosing containers, are my levels going down? And I know that, I have an Apex and there are alarms set to do a lot of these things, but nothing is better at monitoring your reef than your eye. If you can keep your tank running consistently, your nutrients under control, your husbandry good, I wouldn't be afraid to try a more challenging coral, especially if it's one that grows slow. I think the long-term success of a slow-growing coral growing out is far more rewarding than the quick turnaround of a fast softy overtaking your entire tank. It's really what I'm kind of drive homing in this video is that sometimes the slow but steady win the race, and that's what you guys should go out and look for when placing new corals in your tank. And I think I've really done that in this 55 with a large assortment of frags I've added between Favias, Acroporas, Milioporas. I'm really excited to see them grow. So I'll do another updated video in the next few weeks, show you the encrusting corals in the back wall, and hopefully I have some Acropora growth I could show you as well. Till then, see you later.